A soft mist curls through the narrow streets of Alderwick as the evening settles in, slow and gentle, like a blanket being drawn across the shoulders of the old town. The cobblestones glisten from an earlier rain, each stone worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, and the air carries with it the warm, yeasty scent of bread from the bakeries that line the lower quarter. But Alderwick is not like other towns. Above the rooftops and chimney smoke, beyond the wrought iron weather vanes that spin lazily in the breeze, there floats something extraordinary. The skyport of Alderwick rises into the sky like a dream made of brass and polished oak, a grand platform of docks and moorings where airships come to rest. Zeppelins drift in the evening light, their envelopes painted in deep burgundies and forest greens, their propellers turning with a rhythmic hum that the townsfolk have long since woven into their evening routines. The skyport's brass railings catch the amber glow of the gas lamps below, and the whole structure seems to hover between two worlds, the solid earth beneath and the endless sky above. From the docks, wooden gangways descend on thick cables, connecting the floating port to the town square, and along these walkways, merchants and travelers move with practiced ease, carrying parcels, pulling wheeled trunks, greeting one another with the easy familiarity of those who live between the clouds. The lampposts flicker to life one by one, their soft amber light spilling across the square, and the sky above transitions from pale blue to lavender, then to the softest rose, as if the heavens themselves are preparing for sleep. The air is cool but not cold, and it carries with it the faint sweetness of airship steam, a clean, mineral scent that mixes with the bakery smells and the distant perfume of wood smoke. Children play in the square below the skyport, their laughter ringing out like small bells, while their parents gather in doorways and at cafe tables, sipping tea and watching the evening unfold. Everyone knows everyone here, and everyone knows the rhythms of the skyport, the arrival bells, the departure whistles, the soft groaning of mooring cables as ships settle in for the night. And everyone, without exception, knows Bramble. He appears at the edge of the square just as the last light fades from the sky, a medium-sized dog with a coat of mixed browns and grays, scruffy in the way that suggests character rather than neglect. His fur is slightly tousled, particularly around his ears, which stand alert and expressive, constantly swiveling to catch the sounds around him. He wears a leather collar, worn soft with age, with a small brass nameplate that catches the lamplight when he moves. Bramble's face is gentle, almost wise, with dark eyes that seem to hold more understanding than most people expect from a dog. There's a calmness about him, a quiet dignity in the way he walks, paws moving steadily across the cobblestones, tail held level, never rushed, never anxious. "Evening, Bramble," calls a merchant closing up his fabric shop, and Bramble's tail gives a single wag of acknowledgement. A little girl breaks away from her mother to kneel beside him, running her small hands through his fur, and Bramble stands patiently, leaning slightly into her touch before gently pulling away to continue his walk. The fishmonger tosses him a small piece of smoked mackerel, which Bramble catches with practiced ease, and the old woman who sells flowers from a cart always keeps a bowl of fresh water by her station, knowing he'll pass by. But despite all this affection, despite being known and loved by seemingly everyone in Alderwick, there's something solitary about Bramble. He accepts the kindness, the pats and treats and soft words, but he never lingers long. He has a routine, a purpose that the townsfolk have noticed but never quite understood. Every evening at dusk, Bramble makes his way up the wooden gangways to the skyport, moving with the confidence of someone who has walked this path 1,000 times. The dock workers nod to him, stepping aside to let him pass, and the ship captains smile when they see him, some calling out greetings, others simply watching as he moves between the moored vessels. He walks slowly along the brass railings, past the cargo being loaded onto overnight freighters, past the passenger ships with their lit windows and the sound of conversation drifting from their decks. He pauses at various points, lifting his nose to the wind, breathing in the complex mixture of scents that the evening air carries. And then he sits. Usually near the eastern edge of the skyport, where the moorings end and the open sky begins. Bramble sits and watches. He watches the departing airships as they cast off their lines, watches their propellers spin faster, watches them drift away into the deepening twilight, their running lights twinkling like moving stars. He sits very still, ears forward, eyes fixed on the horizon, as if waiting. The dock workers have their theories. He's waiting for his owner to come back, says one. No, he's just a wanderer, likes the view, says another. I heard he used to travel on the ships, maybe he misses it, suggests a third. But no one really knows. And Bramble, calm and patient, offers no answers. He simply watches, and waits, and when the last ship has departed and full darkness has settled over the skyport, he makes his way back down to the town, back to the warm corner behind the bakery where he sleeps, curled up on a pile of old flour sacks that the baker leaves out for him. But the townsfolk are not entirely wrong in their whispers. Bramble does have a purpose. And tonight, as the soft fog rolls in from the hills, that purpose will finally reveal itself. The evening begins like any other. Bramble makes his usual rounds through the town, accepting his customary greetings and treats, and then begins his ascent to the skyport. The fog is thicker than usual tonight, moving in pale waves through the streets, muting the lamplight and making the whole town feel as if it's been wrapped in gauze. By the time Bramble reaches the upper gangways, the fog has enveloped the skyport entirely. The moored airships appear and disappear like ghosts, their hulls materializing from the white mist only to fade again moments later. The brass railings are slick with condensation, and the gas lamps create soft halos of light that barely penetrate the gloom. The sounds are muffled, distant, as if the world has been placed under a thick blanket. Footsteps echo strangely, voices seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, and the usual bustle of the evening has slowed to a dreamy crawl. Bramble walks more slowly than usual, his ears swiveling constantly, his nose working overtime to compensate for his limited vision. He moves between the ships with practiced ease, even in the fog, knowing the layout of the skyport as well as he knows the cobblestones of the square below. And then, he stops. His whole body goes still, one front paw raised slightly off the ground, ears locked forward, nose lifted to catch the breeze that moves through the fog. There. A scent. Faint, impossibly faint, like a whisper carried on the wind from very far away. But unmistakable. It's a scent of oil and copper, of old wool and peppermint tea, of ink and paper and the particular soap that only one person ever used. It's a scent that Bramble hasn't encountered in years, so many years that he'd almost convinced himself he'd imagined it, that memory had created something that never truly existed. But here it is. Real. Present. Carried on the fog like a message from the past. Bramble's tail doesn't wag. His ears don't relax. Instead, his entire being focuses with an intensity that would be frightening if it weren't so quiet, so controlled. He takes one careful step forward, then another, following the scent as it winds through the fog. It leads him past the cargo ships, past the mail runners with their sorting rooms visible through lit windows, past the smaller private vessels that wealthy merchants use for short hops between cities. The scent grows stronger, then weaker, then stronger again, as if whatever carries it is moving, or as if the wind is playing tricks with his senses. He follows it for nearly half an hour, moving through the fog like a shadow, until finally, he finds himself at a dock he doesn't often visit. The passenger dock. The luxury dock. Where the grand touring ships moor when they stop in Alderwick on their circuit of Europe's sky routes. And there, barely visible in the fog, her mooring lines newly secured and her gangway just being lowered, is a ship that seems to glow with warm light from within. The Rosefinch. She's beautiful in the way that only the luxury airships can be, all polished brass and dark wood, with large panoramic windows that show hints of plush interiors, velvet curtains, and the soft golden light of oil lamps. Her envelope is painted a deep red, like the bird she's named after, and her propellers turn slowly, lazily, as the engines idle. The scent is stronger here. Much stronger. It's coming from the ship, or perhaps it came on the ship, brought from somewhere else on the winds that the Rosefinch traveled through. Bramble doesn't question the logic of it. He simply knows, with a certainty that goes beyond reason, that he needs to board that ship. The gangway is down, and crew members move back and forth, carrying luggage and supplies. Passengers are still boarding, well-dressed men and women with fine coats and leather traveling cases, moving slowly up the wooden ramp with the careful steps of those not quite accustomed to the gentle sway of a ship at mooring. Bramble waits. He's patient, as always, sitting just beyond the pool of light cast by the dock lamps, watching. He watches the flow of people, the rhythm of the boarding process, and when the moment is right, when the crew is distracted with a particularly large trunk and the passengers have thinned to a trickle, he moves. He walks up the gangway with the quiet confidence of someone who belongs, tail level, ears forward, not sneaking but not drawing attention either. Just a dog, walking aboard a ship, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. And perhaps, for the Rosefinch, it is. One of the crew members, a young man with brass buttons on his vest and grease under his fingernails, spots Bramble as he crosses onto the deck. The man's face breaks into a smile. Well now, look who it is. Bramble of Alderwick, come to bless our voyage, have you? Another crew member, older, with silver in his beard, turns at the words and chuckles. Let him stay, dogs on board bring good luck, especially this one. I've heard the stories. And just like that, Bramble is accepted. He's led to a quiet corner of the forward observation deck, where a crew member brings him a bowl of water and a soft blanket, and he's told he's welcome to wander as he pleases, so long as he doesn't disturb the passengers. Bramble settles onto the blanket, but his eyes never stop moving, watching, waiting. The scent is all around him now, woven into the very fabric of the ship, and he knows, somehow, that this vessel will take him where he needs to go. The Rosefinch's departure bells begin to ring, soft and musical, and the crew moves to cast off the mooring lines. The engines hum more loudly, a deep, resonant sound that vibrates through the deck, and slowly, so slowly, the ship begins to rise. The fog parts around them like curtains being drawn, and Alderwick drops away below, the amber lights growing smaller, the skyport becoming just another glow in the mist. And then there above it all, climbing into the clear night sky, where stars are beginning to appear like diamonds scattered across dark velvet. Bramble stands and walks to the railing, placing his front paws on the lowest bar, and watches as the world transforms below him. The fog that seemed so all-encompassing from within now looks like a soft blanket tucked around the sleeping town, and beyond it, stretching in every direction, are the dark shapes of hills and forests, rivers that catch the starlight like silver threads, and distant villages marked by clusters of warm light. The Rosefinch levels off and her engines settle into a steady rhythm, a gentle humming that becomes almost like breathing, in and out, in and out. The propellers spin with a soft whoosh whoosh whoosh, and the whole ship seems to sway ever so slightly, rocking like a cradle in the sky. Bramble leaves his post at the railing and begins to explore. The deck is made of polished oak, smooth under his paws, with brass railings that gleam even in the starlight. There are small tables and chairs arranged in groupings, where passengers can sit and take their evening tea while watching the world pass below. Potted plants, some kind of hardy fern, sit in brass planters bolted to the deck, their fronds swaying gently with the ship's motion. Through the large windows, Bramble can see into the passenger lounge, a grand room with velvet-upholstered chairs, small tables with oil lamps, and walls paneled in dark wood with brass accents. A few passengers are scattered throughout, reading books, playing cards, or simply gazing out the windows at the night. He moves along the deck, past the lounge, past the dining room where tables are being set for a late supper, past the small library with its walls of leather-bound books. Everything is warm, soft, designed for comfort and contemplation rather than speed or efficiency. The ship even smells pleasant, a mixture of beeswax polish, lavender sachets, and the faint mineral scent of the steam that powers the engines. It's clean, well-maintained, loved, and Bramble can sense the care that goes into every aspect of the Rosefinch's operation. He finds a stairwell, narrow and spiral, leading down into the ship's lower decks. His claws click softly on the metal steps as he descends, moving into the warmer, more mechanical spaces below. The engine room is a marvel of brass and copper, all pistons and gears and pressure gauges, everything turning and moving in perfect synchronization. The heat here is pleasant, not overwhelming, and the sound is rhythmic, almost hypnotic. Two engineers move between the machinery with practiced ease, adjusting valves, checking pressure, their faces calm and focused. One of them notices Bramble and grins. "Making the rounds, are you, little mate? Well, welcome to the heart of the ship." Bramble watches for a moment, fascinated by the mechanical dance, and then continues his exploration. He finds storage rooms, crew quarters, a small galley where a cook is preparing something that smells of rosemary and butter. Every space is compact but comfortable, designed with the same attention to detail as the passenger areas above. He returns to the main deck just as the moon rises, a perfect silver disk that climbs slowly above the eastern horizon. The Rosefinch is flying higher now, and the air has grown cooler, crisp and clean. Bramble can see his breath in small puffs of vapor, and he settles onto his blanket, curling into a tight ball for warmth. A crew member notices and brings him another blanket, this one thicker, tucking it gently around his body. "There you go, friend, can't have our luck charm catching cold." Bramble's tail thumps once in gratitude, and he closes his eyes, though he doesn't sleep. He's listening, always listening, to the sound of the engines, the whisper of wind across the envelope above, the distant voices of passengers, the gentle groaning of the ship's wooden frame as it flexes and breathes with the flight. And beneath it all, woven through every sound, is that scent. Faint but constant. Leading him onward. Telling him he's on the right path. The night deepens, and the Rosefinch sails on, a small world of light and warmth moving through the infinite darkness of the sky. And Bramble, patient and purposeful, waits to see where that world will take him. The morning arrives slowly aboard the Rosefinch, the sky lightening from black to deep blue to pale gray, and finally to the soft gold of dawn. Bramble wakes to find frost on the railings, delicate patterns of ice crystals that catch the early light like scattered jewels. The air is thin and cold at this altitude, and when he breathes, his breath comes out in thick clouds of vapor. Below, the landscape has changed completely. Gone are the rolling hills and clustered villages of the lowlands. Now the Rosefinch flies over vast stretches of forest, dark green and seemingly endless, broken occasionally by the silver thread of a river or the pale scar of a mountain road. The trees look like a carpet from this height, their individual branches invisible, creating a textured surface that shifts and ripples in the morning breeze. Bramble stands and shakes himself, dislodging the frost that has settled on his fur during the night. His blankets are stiff with cold, but the deck beneath is already warming as the sun climbs higher. He stretches, front legs extended, back arched, and then pads over to the water bowl, only to find it frozen solid. A crew member, the same young man from the previous evening, appears with a steaming kettle. "Morning. Bramble, let's get you something to drink, shall we?" He pours warm water into a fresh bowl, and Bramble laps gratefully, the warmth spreading through his chest like liquid sunshine. The passengers begin to emerge from their cabins, bundled in coats and scarves, drawn to the observation deck by the spectacular view. They speak in hushed voices, as if afraid to disturb the peaceful morning, and many of them smile when they see Bramble, reaching down to pat his head or scratch behind his ears as they pass. What a handsome fellow! Look at him, so calm, like he travels every day. I wonder if he belongs to someone on board. Bramble accepts their attention with his usual grace, but his mind is elsewhere. The scent is still present, stronger in some parts of the ship than others, and he's beginning to understand that it's not coming from a person, not directly. It's older than that, woven into objects, into fabric, into the very wood of the ship itself. Someone who carried that scent was here, perhaps recently, perhaps long ago, and they left traces behind. As the morning progresses, Bramble continues his exploration. He discovers new areas of the ship, small alcoves and quiet corners that he missed in the darkness of the previous night. And in his wandering, he encounters 3 individuals who, in their own small ways, help guide him forward. The first is the navigator. Bramble finds her in the chart room, a small chamber near the bridge with wide windows and a large table covered in maps. She's an older woman, perhaps 60, with silver hair pulled back in a practical bun and spectacles perched on her nose. Her hands are weathered and capable, moving across the maps with the confidence of someone who has spent a lifetime reading wind and sky. She looks up when Bramble enters, and her face softens into a smile. "Well, hello there, come to check our course, have you?" Bramble approaches slowly, and the woman kneels down, her joints cracking softly, to pet him properly. Her hands are gentle but firm, and she smells of ink and parchment and the faint spice of the tea she's been drinking. "You're a good soul, aren't you?" she murmurs, scratching under his chin. "I can always tell. Some dogs have ancient souls, and you're one of them." She straightens, groaning slightly, and returns to her maps. "Come, let me show you where we're going." Bramble follows her to the table, and she traces a line across the map with one finger. "We left Alderwick here, see, and we're following the old air currents north and east, over the forests, over the mountains." Her finger moves across illustrated peaks and valleys. "In 2 days, we'll reach the alpine routes, where the winds get tricky, but also where the most beautiful sights are." She taps a specific point on the map, a small mark that Bramble's eyes fix upon. "And here, this is where we make our longest stop, the Sky Abbey. Have you heard of it? Probably not. Dogs don't usually concern themselves with monasteries, even floating ones." Sky Abbey. Bramble's ears perk forward sharply, and something in his chest tightens. The navigator doesn't notice, already moving on to discuss wind patterns and altitude adjustments, but Bramble has heard what he needs to hear. Sky Abbey. The name resonates, feels right, feels like a destination rather than just a stopping point. He stays with the navigator for another few minutes, absorbing her calm presence, and then quietly slips away, continuing his journey through the ship. That evening, as the sun sets in brilliant streaks of orange and pink. Bramble encounters the musician. She's set up on the aft deck, a young woman with dark hair and a violin case opened beside her. The instrument rests under her chin, and she's playing something slow and melancholic, a melody that seems to match the fading light perfectly. Several passengers have gathered to listen, standing quietly at a respectful distance, and Bramble sits among them, watching the musician's fingers move across the strings, watching the bow glide back and forth with practiced ease. The music is beautiful, haunting, and something about it tugs at Bramble's memory. He tilts his head, listening more intently, and then the musician transitions into a new piece, something lighter, more playful. And Bramble recognizes it. Not the exact melody, but the structure, the rhythm, the way certain notes linger while others dance quickly past. It's similar, so very similar, to something his owner used to hum while working. Those long-ago evenings in the workshop, tools spread across a wooden bench, blueprints pinned to the walls, and that constant humming, half-conscious, a backdrop to the work. The musician finishes with a flourish, and the small audience applauds softly. She smiles and bows, and as she's packing away her violin, Bramble approaches. She notices him immediately and laughs with delight. "Oh, hello, were you enjoying the music?" She kneels down, and Bramble presses his nose against her hand. She smells of rosin and wood varnish, and her fingers are calloused in the way that musicians' fingers always are. "You're a sweet one," she says softly. "You know, my grandmother used to say that dogs could hear music the way humans hear emotion, that you don't just listen to the notes, but to what's beneath them." She strokes his head gently. "Maybe that's true, maybe you heard something in there that reminded you of someone." Bramble's tail wags slowly, and the musician continues. "That last piece. I learned it from an old engineer I met years ago, on a different ship. They said it was a traditional folk tune from their village, something about homecoming." She pauses, lost in memory. "I wonder sometimes what happened to them. They were traveling to find peace. I think, after some kind of accident." She stands, shouldering her violin case. "Well, good night, little friend, maybe I'll play for you again tomorrow." And she's gone, leaving Bramble alone on the deck with his thoughts swirling. An engineer. Traveling to find peace. After an accident. The pieces are coming together, slowly, like a puzzle revealing its pattern one fragment at a time. The third encounter happens late that same night, when most of the passengers have retired to their cabins and the ship is quiet except for the ever-present hum of the engines. Bramble is walking the promenade deck, his claws clicking softly on the wood, when he hears a strange sound. A mechanical whirring, followed by soft metallic footsteps. He stops, ears swiveling to locate the source, and then he sees them. 3 small automatons, each about the size of a duck, waddling across the deck in single file. They're made of brass and copper, with articulated legs and wings that fold neatly against their bodies. Their eyes are small glass lenses that glow with a faint amber light, and they move with a charming awkwardness, tilting slightly side to side as they walk. Bramble watches, fascinated, as they proceed along their programmed route. They pause at various points, their heads swiveling left and right, as if checking for something, and then continue on. One of them notices Bramble and stops. It tilts its head, the gears in its neck clicking softly, and then waddles over to him. The little machine stops directly in front of Bramble and bobs its head once, twice, 3 times, in what might be a greeting. Bramble lowers his nose to investigate, sniffing carefully at the automaton. It smells of machine oil and brass polish, but beneath that, faintly, is another scent. The scent he's been following. The mechanical duck bobs again, and then turns and waddles away, rejoining its companions. The three of them continue their patrol, and Bramble follows at a distance, watching as they check door seals, examine pressure gauges mounted on the walls, and occasionally stop to clean small spots on the deck with brushes that extend from compartments in their bodies. They're maintenance automatons. Bramble realizes. Simple machines designed to keep the ship in perfect condition during long voyages. And someone built them. Someone who understood both mechanics and whimsy. Someone who thought that a ship's maintenance crew should be charming as well as functional. Someone whose scent is embedded in their very construction. Bramble follows the mechanical ducks for over an hour, watching them work, until finally they waddle through a small hatch and disappear into the maintenance corridors below. He can't follow them there, the spaces are too small, but he doesn't need to. He's learned what he needed to learn. His owner touched these machines. Built them. Or at least worked on them. The connection is undeniable. And the navigator said the ship was going to Sky Abbey. Bramble returns to his blankets, and this time he does sleep, curling into a tight ball with his nose tucked under his tail. He dreams of workshops and blueprints, of hands stained with ink and oil, of laughter and humming and the particular warmth of being loved completely. The next day passes in a blur of clouds and sunshine. The Rosefinch continues east, climbing higher as the terrain below rises into mountains. The forests give way to rocky slopes, to snow-covered peaks, to valleys so deep they look like cracks in the earth itself. The air grows thinner and colder. Passengers bundle in even more layers, and the crew brings out heated stones wrapped in cloth to place in the observation areas. Bramble finds that if he sits near the windows, the sun streaming through the glass provides enough warmth to keep him comfortable. He eats when the crew feeds him, drinks when water is offered, accepts pets and kind words from passing passengers. But his focus never wavers. He watches the horizon constantly, waiting for the first glimpse of their destination. And then, late in the afternoon of the second day, it appears. At first, it's just a shape in the distance, indistinct against the backdrop of mountains. But as the Rosefinch draws closer, the shape resolves into something impossible, something beautiful, something that makes even the most jaded passengers gasp and point. The Sky Abbey. It floats above the highest peaks of the Alps, tethered by massive chains to the mountaintops below. The structure itself is a combination of stone and steel, ancient architecture merged with modern engineering. There are towers and spires, cloisters and gardens, all impossibly suspended in the air. Catwalks and bridges connect different sections, and the whole complex is surrounded by a series of smaller platforms, creating a layered effect like a floating island. The stone is pale, almost white, and it glows in the afternoon sun. Large windows catch the light, and from this distance, Bramble can see the tiny figures of people moving along the walkways, tending gardens, or simply standing at railings to watch the world below. Wind chimes. Even from here, even over the sound of the Rosefinch's engines, Bramble can hear them. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of wind chimes, creating a symphony that rises and falls with the mountain breezes. The sound is ethereal, otherworldly, as if the sky itself is singing. The Rosefinch begins her descent, angling toward one of the docking platforms that extend from the Abbey's southern side. The crew moves with increased focus, calling out coordinates and adjusting the ballast. The engines slow, the propellers change pitch, and the ship settles into a gentle glide. Bramble stands at the railing, every muscle tense, every sense focused. The scent is overwhelming now, not faint or distant, but present, immediate, coming from the Abbey itself. It's woven into the very air, carried on the wind along with the sound of the chimes. The docking process takes nearly 20 minutes. The Rosefinch must be precisely positioned, her mooring cables attached to the correct clamps, her gangways aligned with the Abbey's platforms. The crew works with quiet efficiency, and gradually, slowly, the ship comes to rest. The engines shut down completely. The propellers stop spinning. And in the sudden silence, broken only by the wind chimes and the whisper of the mountain breeze, Bramble hears the captain's voice announcing their arrival. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sky Abbey. We'll be docked here for 3 days, allowing those who wish to explore this remarkable sanctuary ample time to do so. Please mind your step on the gangways, and respect the silence maintained by the monks in the meditation halls." Passengers begin to gather their things, preparing to disembark. But Bramble doesn't wait for the crowd. As soon as the gangway is secured, before the first passenger has even reached the door, he's moving. He crosses the deck at a trot, not running, but moving with purpose. A crew member calls after him. "Careful now, Bramble," but doesn't try to stop him. The dog knows where he's going. The gangway sways slightly under his paws, but Bramble doesn't hesitate. He crosses from ship to platform, and then he's standing on the Sky Abbey itself, on stone that has floated among the clouds for longer than anyone can remember. The platform is wide and open, with railings on all sides and several archways leading into the abbey proper. Gardens flourish in large planters, somehow thriving despite the altitude, with hardy alpine flowers and dwarf conifers that have been carefully shaped by patient hands. More wind chimes hang from every available support, brass and silver and copper, ranging from tiny bells to large tubes, all singing their endless song. Several figures in simple robes move about the platform, tending to the gardens or guiding new arrivals. Their robes are a soft gray, and as Bramble watches, he notices that some of them incorporate mechanical elements. Steam-powered joints that assist with lifting. Small propellers built into the backs that provide balance on the windswept platforms. Goggles pushed up on foreheads. These are not traditional monks, but rather a fusion of contemplative life and mechanical ingenuity. One of them notices Bramble and pauses, a small smile crossing their face. "Welcome, friend, all are welcome here." They gesture toward the archways. "The grounds are open to you, walk where you will." Bramble's nose is working constantly now, sorting through the complex mixture of scents. Incense and stone dust. Machine oil and candle wax. Garden soil and mountain air. And beneath it all, through it all, that one scent. Stronger than ever. Leading him forward like a thread he can follow with his eyes closed. He chooses the central archway, the largest, and passes through into a long corridor. The walls here are stone, thick and ancient, but the floor has been fitted with wooden boards that creak softly under his paws. More wind chimes hang in the windows, smaller and more delicate than those outside, creating a gentler music. The corridor opens into a courtyard, open to the sky, with a garden growing in neat rows. Vegetables and herbs, tended with obvious care. A fountain sits in the center, the water cycling through some kind of mechanical system, rising and falling in gentle pulses. Several monks work in the garden, kneeling between the rows, pulling weeds or harvesting produce. None of them pay Bramble any attention. Here, he's just another creature, as welcome as the birds that perch on the fountain's edge or the bees that move between the flowering herbs. Bramble crosses the courtyard and enters another corridor. Then another. The abbey is larger than it appeared from outside, a maze of interconnected buildings and covered walkways, bridges that span from tower to tower, staircases that spiral up and down. Everywhere he looks, there's the same combination of ancient stone and modern mechanism. Brass pipes running along the walls. Gear-driven doors. Windows that adjust their angle automatically to track the sun. Someone built all this. Or helped to build it? Or maintains it now? Someone with the knowledge and skill to merge two worlds, the contemplative and the mechanical, into something harmonious. The scent grows stronger still. Bramble climbs a spiral staircase, his claws clicking on the metal steps. Up one level. Then another. And another. Until he emerges onto an open-air corridor, a bridge really, that connects two of the abbey's towers. The bridge has a roof but no walls, and the wind rushes through it, strong enough that Bramble has to lean slightly to maintain his balance. He crosses carefully, and on the far side, he finds himself in a quieter section of the abbey. The corridors here are narrower. The rooms smaller. This is not the public area, but rather the private spaces where the residents live and work. And here, the scent is almost overwhelming. Recent. So recent that Bramble's heart begins to beat faster, his breathing quickens. He moves from door to door, checking each one. Sleeping quarters. Store rooms. A small chapel with candles burning. A library with books stacked neatly on shelves. And then, at the end of a particularly long corridor, he finds it. A door slightly ajar. Light streaming out into the hallway. And from within, the sound of something that makes Bramble freeze, ears forward, entire body rigid. Humming. That specific tune. That melody the musician had played. That half-conscious backdrop to 1,000 remembered evenings. Bramble approaches the door slowly. Each step feels like it takes forever. His heart is pounding so hard he's certain anyone nearby must be able to hear it. He reaches the threshold and pauses, gathering himself, and then, very gently, he pushes the door open with his nose. The room is a workshop. Sunlight streams through large windows on two sides, filling the space with golden afternoon light. The walls are lined with workbenches covered in tools, brass fittings, coils of wire, sheets of copper. Blueprints are pinned to cork boards. Half-finished projects sit in various states of completion. Small mechanisms tick and whir softly. And everywhere, absolutely everywhere, are plants. Potted herbs on the windowsills. Vines growing up trellises attached to the walls. A small tree in a large planter in the corner. And there, sitting at a workbench by the open window, back to the door, is a figure Bramble would recognize anywhere. Older. Hair more gray than brown now. Shoulders a bit more stooped. But unmistakable. His owner. They're working on something small, their hands moving with the same careful precision Bramble remembers. And they're humming that tune, lost in their work, completely unaware that they're no longer alone. Bramble takes one step into the room. Then another. His claws click softly on the stone floor. The humming stops. The figure at the workbench goes very still. Then, slowly, so slowly, they turn around. And they see him. For a moment, neither moves. The owner's face goes through a dozen expressions in quick succession. Confusion. Disbelief. Recognition. Wonder. And finally, after what feels like an eternity but is probably only seconds, tears begin to stream down their weathered face. Bramble. The word is barely a whisper. Choked with emotion. Trembling with disbelief. Bramble takes 3 quick steps forward, and then his owner is on their knees on the floor, arms open, and Bramble presses himself against their chest so hard they nearly topple backward. He can hear their heartbeat, rapid and strong. Can feel their hands tangling in his fur, clutching him close. Can feel the wetness of their tears soaking into his coat. I thought you were back home, safe, happy. I thought. Their voice breaks. How did you? They pull back just enough to look at him properly, holding his face between their hands, staring into his eyes as if they can't quite believe he's real. I looked for you, after the crash. I sent letters, inquiries, but they told me the house had new owners, that you'd been taken to Alderwick, and I thought you'd found a new life. Bramble presses his forehead against theirs, making a sound that's half whine, half sigh, pure contentment and relief. They stay like that for a long time. On the floor of the workshop. Wrapped around each other. While the afternoon light slowly changes, growing softer, more golden. While the wind chimes sing outside. While the abbey settles into the peaceful rhythm of evening. Eventually, his owner sits back, legs crossed, one hand never leaving Bramble's fur. They're still crying, but smiling too, an expression of joy so pure it seems to light them from within. You found me. They say wonderingly. You actually found me. They look around the workshop, as if seeing it with new eyes. I've been here for 3 years, after the accident, after the airship went down. I was injured, lost, and the monks found me, brought me here to recover, and then. They shrug. I stayed. It seemed like what I was meant to do. The abbey needed someone who understood mechanisms, who could help maintain the systems, and I needed peace. I suppose. They stroke Bramble's head gently. I built the mechanical ducks for the Rosefinch. Did you meet them? I thought the ship needed something whimsical, something to make people smile during long voyages. A soft laugh. Did you follow them? Is that how? Bramble's tail wags, and his owner laughs again, the sound fuller this time, more certain. Of course you did, clever boy, clever, wonderful boy. The light continues to fade. The mountains below cast long shadows that climb the peaks like living things. And in the workshop, surrounded by tools and plants and the evidence of a life rebuilt from broken pieces. Bramble and his owner simply exist together. Reunited. Complete. After a while, his owner stands, groaning slightly, joints stiff from kneeling. Come, let me show you the rest of the abbey, and then we'll have dinner. I have a small room, nothing fancy, but there's space for you. There's always been space for you, even when I didn't dare hope you'd fill it. They walk together through the corridors as the evening bells begin to ring. Soft. Melodic. Blending with the wind chimes to create a sound that seems to resonate in Bramble's very bones. His owner introduces him to the other residents they encounter, and each one greets Bramble with gentle hands and kind words, as if they've been expecting him, as if his arrival is just another small miracle in a place where miracles are woven into the daily routine. They reach a small room, simply furnished with a narrow bed, a chair, a desk covered in papers. More plants crowd the windowsill. A rug, handwoven, covers the stone floor. And in the corner, as if it's been waiting, is a cushioned bed, sized perfectly for a medium-sized dog. I made that last year. His owner says quietly. I don't know why, just felt like I should, felt like maybe, someday. They trail off, smiling, shaking their head at their own foolishness, or perhaps at fate's strange sense of humor. Bramble investigates the bed, circling once, twice, and then settling onto it with a deep sigh of contentment. It smells like cedar and lavender. And, very faintly, it smells like home. His owner sits on their own bed, watching him, still smiling. You'll stay, won't you? I know you have a life in Alderwick, friends there, but... They pause, hoping. You'll stay. Bramble's answer is to close his eyes, to let his body relax completely into the cushioned bed, to release the tension he's been carrying for so long that he'd forgotten what it felt like to be without it. His owner's smile grows wider. Good, that's good. They sit in comfortable silence as full darkness falls. Someone brings dinner, simple but delicious, bread and cheese and soup, with a portion set aside for Bramble in a proper bowl. They eat together, and afterward, his owner works on a small project at their desk while Bramble watches, listening to the familiar sounds of tools and mechanical components, of humming and occasional soft laughter when something works perfectly. The evening bells ring again. Somewhere in the abbey, someone is playing a violin. The wind chimes continue their eternal song. And below, far below, the world turns, unaware and unconcerned with the small reunion taking place among the clouds. Eventually, his owner extinguishes the lamps, leaving only a single candle burning. They settle into bed, and for a moment, there's only the sound of breathing, of settling blankets, of the night wind moving through the abbey's corridors. And then, softly, from the corner, comes the sound of Bramble's contented sigh. His owner's voice drifts through the darkness. "Good night, old friend, welcome home." Bramble's tail thumps once against his bed. And then, finally, he sleeps. He dreams of floating gardens and mechanical ducks. Of workshops filled with light. Of mountains that touch the sky. Of wind chimes singing lullabies to the stars. Of hands that smell like peppermint tea and machine oil. Of home. Not the home he left behind in Alderwick, though that was good, and not the home he lost when his owner disappeared, though that was cherished. But a new home. A better home. A home earned through patience and determination and faith that some paths, no matter how long, no matter how uncertain, lead exactly where they need to go. In the morning, Bramble will wake to sunlight streaming through the windows. His owner will already be up, working at their bench, humming that same familiar tune. The smell of tea will fill the room. Someone will knock on the door to invite them to breakfast in the communal hall. And Bramble will rise from his bed, will stretch, will pad over to press his nose against his owner's hand, and together they will walk out into another day in the Sky Abbey, a place where broken things are mended, where lost things are found, and where a scruffy terrier and an aging engineer can finally rest. The wind chimes sing their approval. The mountains stand eternal witness. And somewhere, on a distant skyport in a town called Alderwick, the merchants and bakers and flower sellers smile when they think of Bramble, knowing somehow, without knowing how they know, that the old dog finally found what he was looking for. The stars turn above. The world breathes below. And in a workshop floating among the clouds, surrounded by gears and gardens, by brass and blooms, by all the beautiful machinery of life and love and second chances, Bramble sleeps. And dreams. And is home.